I'll be presenting to you a tutorial on Neoload, which is a performance testing tool. Neoload is a performance and load testing tool which was developed by Neotys, a company based in France. Now, a tool which basically measures the performance and the behavior of the system under load. It is used for testing web applications, mobile applications, web services, Oracle forms and Silverlight applications. It can also use JavaScripts for script enhancements in advanced web applications. And the execution platform supported by Neoload would be .NET, Java and PHP. And I will shortly show you an application based on Java in my demo. And then we have web services which are supported by Neoload, that is SOAP and REST. Then we also have Ajax and Oracle Forms and Silverlight applications which Neoload can test. And we can also check videos which are in MP4 format, FLV format and so on. And like I said, it can also be used to test any web application or a mobile application. So it can be used to test your Android application, your iOS applications and a Windows application. And now let us look at the Neoload architecture. So the architecture consists of the controller, where basically you're creating your scripts, modifying the scenarios, setting up goals and targets, and you're finally running your test. And then we have the load generators. The load generators can be done locally or used on a cloud. And Neoload supports Neoload lets you integrate load generators into the cloud as and when it is required. A server which is directly connected to the controller, which lets you access the application server and the database server. So that's the architecture. What exactly is load testing? You're basically testing the websites or mobile applications vulnerability to crashing under load. Server can handle those many users at the same time, and you're also checking the response time under that predicted load and the number of users which are using your application simultaneously, and it is also defining the hardware and bandwidth requirements. Now let us look at performance testing. What is performance testing? It is again just measuring the performance characteristics of an application. So the main objective of performance testing is to see or to demonstrate how a system would function under load and check its response time, and you will be calculating the response time with respect to a set standard. Then the objective of performance testing is to demonstrate that the system meets the requirements for transaction throughput and response time simultaneously. The main deliverables from such a test prior to execution are automated test scripts and an infrastructure to be based to execute automated tests for extended periods. Then the main goals of performance testing would be end-to-end transaction response time requirements, measure the application server's components performance under various loads, measuring the database components performance under various loads, and you're monitoring the system resources under these loads, and also measuring the network delay between the server and the client. Then the prerequisites for performance testing. One is quantitative, that everything has to be expressed in quantifiable terms such that when response times are measured, a sensible comparison can be derived. And it has to be relevant, that is, a response time must be relevant to the business process. It should be measurable, that is, a response time should be defined in such a way that it can be measured using a tool or a stopwatch. And it has to be realistic. The response time requirements should be justifiable when compared to the duration of activities within the business process, the system support. And this has to be achievable. That is, the response time should take into account the cost of achieving them. Then, the performance requirement will normally consist of three components. That is, the response time requirement, the load profiles and the database volumes. So let's see what response time requirement is. So when you're basically when asked to specify the performance requirements, when you go to a client and ask them what their performance requirement is, they only talk about the response time and they say it has to be quick. and they just tell in terms of generic response time. So as a developer would know that the response time for each and every transaction can vary depending on how simple or complicated it is. So it is very difficult to design your website around, design an application around just the response time. So we will now consider, we also consider the load profiles. So what load profile does is, it is basically the level of system loading expected to occur during a specific business scenario. That is, the business scenario might cover different situations when the user's organization has different levels of activity, or it involves a varying mix of activities which must be supported by that system. And then there is the database volume problem. That is, over a period of time, the database will have a lot of information, and you have to check if your application can take this database load and actually work properly. Now let us look at the types of performance testing. Component testing is one, in which you are checking each and every unit of your application and seeing how it behaves and performs. Second is the load testing, where you are finding out whether the system can handle the expected load when it gets deployed in real world environments. Stress testing, the overload that the system can take beyond the expected number of users or transactions. Even though it happens for a very short period of time, it can cause a lot of congestion, reduces the performance. And then there is volume testing, that is again related to the database, where you are trying to find the stability of your system with respect to handling large amounts of data which gets collected over a period of time. So now let us look at load testing with our tool Neoload. It is basically recording the HTTP traffic between the browser and the server. It is defining the scenarios or the test parameters. You are able to run the test and analyze the results. So let us see what happens when performance testing is not done right. Okay, let's say you open a website and it takes very long to get information, or it takes very long to access that website. You obviously get very frustrated with that, and eventually you'll stop using that website, you'll stop visiting that website. Now this leads to loss of business, right? So there are so many disadvantages when it comes to not doing performance testing right. Okay, so let us now see the main advantages of performing a performance test or a load test on a web application or a mobile application before deploying it onto the real world environment. So firstly, it is letting you analyze the performance of the system. That is, it is seeing if it is faster and if it's better, and it is letting you know about the availability of the website. And then you can also check the reliability of your website or a mobile application, and last but not the least, the capacity of the website. That is, how many number of users can use it at the same time, if the server can take the load, that is. So you can download the Neotys software from neotys.com. You can go to the download option here. You want to download the free edition, so say download now. This leads you to fill a form. So in the download purpose, you want to choose the free usage. I am okay with community support. You can just choose the free usage. That's what I am doing. So say download, which will lead you to a page, to this page, and it helps you. It is going to provide a licensing file which you can download later. I already have my licensing file here, and depending on and another thing about Neoload is it supports all kinds of operating systems. You can download it on a Windows platform, a Linux platform, or even on your Mac system. And mine is a Windows 64-bit Windows 7 version, so I'll be downloading this. So I already have my Neoload downloaded here. I'm going to go ahead and run this file. Say run. So it prompts you to choose a language. I'm saying English. Let it make changes. Yes. Next. I accept the agreement. Say next. Now there are three modules here, which is the controller, the load generator agent and the monitoring agent. This you can choose based on your requirement. I am going to choose controller, which has both the load generator and the monitoring environment. Now the monitoring environment is basically letting you monitor all the servers, and the load generator agent is simulating the workload. So again, based on your requirement, you can choose what you want. I am going ahead with controller, and this lets you download into the C drive. Depending on your space availability, you can choose any other drive you want. I'm going ahead with that. Say next and let it install. It'll ask you for checking the updates. I just want it monthly, and next. It should prompt you again to say install. Say install. Say finish. Now you can open your tool. So the very first thing after you open your tool is to use that license document which you downloaded earlier for your free version of the tool. Go to help, license management. So you use a license file, enter a license key. This lets you browse for the document which was stored earlier. I have saved mine on the desktop, so I'm just going to open that, and it has been successfully installed. Say OK, apply, and OK. The next thing that you have to do would be, it is very important for getting your certificates. So we have to go to help again, open logs folder. There is a folder configuration. When you open that, you should have a Neoload root CA certificate. So when you run that, you say install certificate. It sets you up with a wizard. Say next. You always want to place your certificates onto the local system. That allows anyone using your system, gives anyone using your system access, and then place all the certificates in the following store, and give this default trusted root certificate authorities directory. Say OK and next and finish. Say yes, and the certificate was imported successfully, and then we click. Okay, so now that we have downloaded and installed Neoload properly, let's just start off with how it works. New project, you give a project name. I am going to say demo 6 and finish. So this is your welcome screen, and by default it takes you to the recording screen. So now this basically has three tabs, which is the design, runtime, and the results tab. In the design tab, you'll be so the design tab lets you create virtual user scripts, and the runtime is where you're going to run these virtual scripts, or run those load tests. And then the results is where you're going to analyze all the graphs which get generated by these tests. And then here we have population, which is defining the number of users which are going to be using it at the same time. That is okay. So let us now see how the populations tab is working. I have selected the virtual user as my current virtual user, and under the browser you can just open the browser profile wizard, and you can see that it is displaying a number of browsers to choose from for a Linux platform, or for a Mac platform, or even for a Windows platform, like it is here. So this not only lets you test an application on a web application, but like I said, it can also help you test um, mobile applications. So now, as you can see, under the mobile applications, you have for HTC, you have for an Android application, for a BlackBerry, a Symbian, a Windows phone, and an iPhone. Now, one thing that you have to remember is it doesn't necessarily have to be the very same phone that you're trying to test. It can be something close to what you're trying to test, because it's still going to take accept the server and run the test. And you can also test your tablets, say for your Android tablets, or even for your iOS tablets, which is your iPads. And once you say okay, and then after that you can start running your tests, the group of virtual users. And then we have monitor, which is very configure the performance monitor for both the machine and the software application. Okay, so now if we want to, so I'll be starting with recording all my scenarios by saying start recording. And you want to record all your startup actions into the init container here, that's launching the web browser and logging in and all that. And then you can choose your I just want my HTTP protocols, so I'll just let that work for now, and my browser would be Chrome. Say okay. Yeah, so this will give you this floating window right here, and I am going to use a website which is on the local host for now. So I'll be showing you how that. Okay, so since this is going to be a startup, I'm just going to name my container, say login, and I'll log in as an admin and say sign in. Now that we have entered the main section of it, let's record it into the actions, and I'll name my container evaluation, and I'll just analyze maybe the video performance of, say, staff 1 and his I'll be analyzing this video on the overall performance, and view the graph here. So this is the graph that I get. Now let's do another function by the admin, say allocation, and go to session allocation. And here I get to assign a particular video to a particular staff on a certain day. So I'm just going to say Thursday to staff, say Jenny, and a video name would be Ruby 4.mp4, and say a lot, right, and say thanks. Okay, and I'll be ending it now, so say log out and log out. So now I can stop my recording. So this will bring you to the dynamics parameter window wizard. You just have to say next. This can take some time depending on the length of your script, so just give it some time. Say apply changes next, and you want to check off the use recorded think times. What this does is it's going to add the response time that it actually took in order to get to in order to fetch some information. So you want to check that and say next and finish. So the first thing I'll be doing is I'll be saving this. Okay, so now that we have done that, now you can see that under my virtual user I have three main containers, which is the init, actions and end. In init is going to be my login folder which I created under the container section, and this was the page that I have received, and all these are the pages, and the ones below it, these would be the elements of it. Of each page, and as you can see, each page has its own method, which can either be get or a post method. Here I was logging in and sending in all my details, so it was a post method, whereas here if you look at it, if you expand this, you'll get this as a get method, because it's just basically trying to fetch some information. And then my actions get stored in this, and you can see each and every folder has been created separately, like I had done before. And yeah, so this is also supposed to display the IP address as well. And then at the end we have the logout. So now what you want to do is, before you run this, you want to check the populations. So population is basically, like I said, is going to tell the number of users which are going to run this, which are going to be using this simultaneously. So say OK, and then you come to the monitors tab, where you can add a new monitored machine. So here you want to enter your local, enter your host name. Mine would be, this is basically just your system name or the IP address 7, and you want to check off what operating system you are using. Mine is a Windows system, and my database, I have used an Oracle database, and the network you can check off both of these, and I have used a Glassfish server. So I'll just say next, and here is where it is displaying your system name, which is Windows, and my IP address, which is the host name. And you always want to check your connection before going to the next stage, and say next. This will take a little time, and after which you can just say finish. Okay. So once you have done that, you can say play. This is the scenario which is currently being run, and you can depending on your specification, you can say apply to all in both these cases. Yeah, so when you choose by iteration, you can also choose the number of simultaneous users which are going to be using it. I'm just going to keep it at 10, or say 5, and number of iterations will be 1. So what this means is that there are 5 users which are going to be performing the same tasks that I just performed once. Say apply to all, and now you can run it. And here is the runtime overview of what exactly is happening. And as you can see down here, red indicates errors and yellow indicates the alerts, and if it indicates any errors or alerts, you can check that in the runtime errors section, where it is giving you which part of it has gone wrong, which is going to indicate what where there is an error. And I'll just show it to you in runtime. It still hasn't showed any error as of now, so just let it run. So it looks like it's done. You can copy this. So this is the summary of my graphs which have got generated. There are a few errors here, and this is supposed to indicate the alerts, and this is the log files. So if you come to the test summary, Here it shows you my project name, the scenario, and when I've started, and how long it has taken to test this, and the number of users in the population. And so if you look at this, the total throughput was about 1.17 MB, and there were 10 users and total of 130 requests, and this is my overall response time and the errors or alerts graph. Here it is giving me the top 5 errors and the alerts which I should be very careful about, and I have no alerts here as of now, but there is one error here. And then the average response time, this is giving me the 5 high response time, which was about 10 seconds apparently. And then we have the maximum response time pages here. So this is the average response time, and this is indicating the top 5 maximum response time pages, which has taken about 12.1. And then there were about 2 errors here, request errors, and there were no action errors or external data errors. So now you have seen how you can run a test on Neoload. Now let us look at how we can validate a user on Neoload. Previously, as you can remember, I had deleted all my table values and they were empty. I have again added a few more values to it. So if you can, I'll just show you the table readings now. There are 2 different staff members, 2 separate videos allocated on 2 separate days. Now if you look at Neoload, you can check for the virtual user by saying check virtual user and say start checking. Okay, so now we can see that the virtual user is validated. Say close, and now let's look at our table again. I'll just refresh this. Okay, so now if you can see Saturday, Edward, this row has been repeated again. That is because when I ran my test again, Neoload sent a request, sent a HTTP request, which actually updated my value here. So that's it about virtual user authentication. I hope you find this tutorial useful, and thank you for watching. Yeah, so that's it about verifying your virtual users. Tutorial useful and